Hi, my name is Liam and today it's a cracking day here in the Netherlands. It's a beautiful area. I would say have great fun at the YouTube Cycling Maven channel. Woo!
Good morning, you absolutely cracking humans. I'm hanging out with Naveen, he's behind me, and we're going to go check out a TT bike. So Naveen is India's first ever professional cyclist, and we're going to have a little sit down, talk about how he got into cycling, why he's in Australia, is he going to dominate, all those good things. What do you reckon, bro?
I don't know, I'm looking forward to it then.
Alright, Naveen and I are in the city. We're just going to go check out his TT bike. He just told me he won his national time trial championships doing 47 kilometers an hour. What a little, look at he's tiny. He's tiny, he's this little beast.
I guess I'm really arrow or something.
So we're going to go check out a new TT bike for him.
We don't need to think about it, just come my way.
Is Glossy as fast as Matt, or is Matt faster?
The science says that Matt's probably a little bit faster.
Yeah.
Because it kind of allows the air hitting the frame to kind of break up.
Yeah.
And so it just moves over the frame faster.
Right.
But yeah, that's I'm no scientist.
All right, is the deal done?
I think that's it. That's the one.
That's the one?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just a really good deal. It's a good frame.
Yeah.
Components really don't matter that much.
It's really about just aero, isn't it?
It's about position at the end of the day, right?
Yeah,
so
that's right.
The bike is just, yeah, a little bit of an enabler, I suppose.
Yeah. So Naveen was saying that he's seen a couple of my videos when he was in India, but the Pat Shaw crit video, you were saying...
I mean, people live by your Pat Shaw crit breakdown video. I mean, people talk about crit racing and that video in the same sentence in India.
Is that right?
Absolutely, mate.
It's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing that YouTube can allow such...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, just it's so weird, but being in Melbourne, it's almost like deja vu because you've just talked to pretty much all the personalities involved in cycling in Melbourne to some extent, and it's so crazy getting to meet them and getting to see the places you've kind of taken us, and no, it's been awesome. And the coffee. Yeah, and the coffee. Yeah. So the Melbourne Winter, how have you handled that? Because I could imagine it wouldn't be cold in... Oh no, where I come from, Bangalore, a city in the south of India, it's 30-35 degrees every day, which is great for training and stuff. Well, the way I've learned to handle the Melbourne winter is don't make plans, just prepare for everything. So go out for a ride, pack my wind vest, pack my long sleeve jersey, just everything's on me when I head out the door and just, ready for anything. That's the key. Yeah.
So you've done you did a season, or you actually did 4 seasons in America. Yeah. And you've done a season in Belgium, or you've spent some time there. How do you think it compares to the Australian cycling scene? And in terms of the quality of the bunches and the races and how hard they are?
Yeah. So the US is where I got into racing. I got into racing through the collegiate scene in America, where it's a non-varsity sport. So it's kind of this really low pressure environment where you can really kind of grow and really go as far as you want to. So I started off in that, racing every weekend, kind of moving my way up through the categories, started racing non-collegiate racing there, moved up to grade 2 or category 2 there, which is kind of an equivalent of a B or an A grade here. And then last summer I had the opportunity to go to Belgium. The first time a small team from India, probably has spent any significant time racing outside the country. So it was a massive step for our sport, from the Indian perspective. And it was a huge eye-opener for me, just kind of getting to experience the kind of racing that Belgium has to offer. It's just an invaluable kind of experience. And if you're into bike racing, it's something that you just have to do, the fact that you can wake up every morning and you have a pick of 4 to 5 races within 30 kilometers of where you're at. We were based in Ghent, an awesome place to be if you're into kermesse racing, and we just ride off to a race. Maybe have a good day occasionally, have a terrible day, but you could just wake up the next morning and do it again. And that was the most awesome thing about Belgium, the fact that you could just do it over and over again. It was like Groundhog Day, you know? Australia's been a little different with the racing scene. It's a little bit more, the racing's a little bit more spread out, but still pretty accessible. Which is awesome, and the fact that it's graded means there's a level for pretty much everyone. It's been a little bit of a learning curve for me, mostly getting used to the weather. My first race here, oh man, it was raining, it was cold, there was a hill in the middle. It was all stuff that I was just not used to, and yeah, my first race here involved me bonking halfway through the stage after spending a bunch of time out, and but yeah, came back the next day, finished in the bunch. So it's been a little bit of a learning curve. Looking forward to the crit season everyone's talking about. Looking to get stuck into that. And my big goal for the year, I guess, would be the national championships, defending my title in the ITT, and trying getting on the podium for the road race. And long term, getting on the start line at Worlds would be one of my goals. It'd be massive for the sport in our country. And also, I'm definitely going to be back for the Commonwealth Games in 2018, which is up in Brisbane. So yeah.
So what is the racing scene like in India as compared to the rest of the world? And, you know, are there big races? What's the season like? And the thing is, if there's not many races, which I think you alluded to me earlier, how do you stay motivated?
Yeah, the race calendar in India is at best amorphous. You know, it's something that doesn't have any shape or form. You kind of get notice of a race probably 2 weeks is a healthy notice. And yeah, you rock up to the start line, so there's never quite that preparation that's required to kind of bring your A game to the race. And it's kind of it's part of one of the reasons why the sport is moving forward, but it is kind of changing. There's a lot of club level stuff happening now. I think in a year or two we'd probably see club level racing kind of supersede kind of national level organized races, which would be kind of interesting. I don't think you'd see that anywhere else in the world, but I think it'll happen in India. Besides that, staying motivated when you don't really have a calendar is hard, but it's something that if you're committed to doing, I guess you just kind of, make it happen, or just make it work.
So as an outsider, looking in, I'm often interested to see, what do you think of Melbourne in terms of the cycling? And when you come here, are you surprised how good it is, or is it just, is it?
Yeah, when I first got to Melbourne, people kept talking to me about how healthy and big the cycling scene was, and I wasn't seeing it, but then I realized I was riding what's called pro hours. I'd never heard of the term before, but apparently if you ride your bike when it's sunny and when it's 10 o'clock, those are typically, it's a luxury. But then I headed out for my first North Road ride, and oh man, that's when, that was an eye-opener, just seeing, I don't know, 100 plus cyclists out on the road, lights decked out. Oh, that was just mind-blowing for me. Yeah, that was the Australian, Melbourne cycling scene that everyone was talking about. And yeah, I was sleeping through it apparently. But no, it was good to finally see it. And the North Road ride, I had my first North Road ride long experience about a week ago. Freaking amazing. Looking forward. It's going to be one of the things that I do in my build up to nationals, actually, just because, it's a great ride. Yeah.
So you're 70 kilos, and you were telling me earlier your FTP, your functional threshold power, is about 340 watts, 330. That's pretty huge, 70 kilos. So you're a time trial specialist. Would you consider yourself a climber?
I wouldn't consider myself a climber. I've never focused on. I've never actually chased watts or chased a number on the scale. I've just kind of done what's come to me naturally with training. 340 isn't a terribly high number, and 70 isn't terribly low. Time trial is just something that I picked as my discipline because it had the least amount of variables in it, and in a country like India where I'd set out on this goal to kind of win the national championships in a discipline, I figured the time trial would be a good place to start. So I don't know if I'd put myself in the bracket of a climber or a time trialist. It's just time trialing is what I'm kind of good at, and so I've just kind of stuck with it and trying to build and trying to move forward in that discipline, really. Yeah. Step by step.
So what was the American crit racing scene? I mean, I know they've got a whole genre where people just race crits. What was that racing scene like?
Yeah, that was a lot of the racing that I did when I was in the States. It was a lot of crit racing. And the difference between the scene there in America and in, say, if you were set up in a place like Melbourne, is just that it's so easy to get to racing if you're doing it in Melbourne. You know, it's just logistically a lot simpler. You know, a lot of the racing happens within Melbourne, or an hour or two train ride out of Melbourne, right? But in the US, you really got to, they're spotted all over the place, unless you're in some of the crit centers like Chicago or out on the West Coast or on the East Coast of New York. So there's a lot of traveling involved there, a lot of road trips, which is standard there. You wouldn't think twice about that. But here, you just hop on a train and you've got access to pretty much, you know, a race every weekend, which is yeah, for me that was totally new. Yeah.
So the caliber of bunches in Australia when you're racing compared to Belgium races, you were saying to me earlier that, you know, the depth is amazing. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in Belgium, you've got, you know, you line up to a amateur kermesse there, of which you probably have about 3 or 4 options a day to pick from, and you easily got fields between, you know, 80 to 120 riders. Some days, you know, they balloon to about 150, and you know, it's a really deep field. You've got about 50 guys who are, you know, who belong. You know, in Australia, at least the racing I've done so far and what I've heard about, like 75 to 80 would be a really good field. In your crits that go on during the week and your VRS races, but you've definitely got a bunch of guys who are the cream of the crop, you know, the top 10, and then you've got the rest of us. So there's definitely that depth that doesn't exist here, and I don't know what the trajectory of that is in terms of Australian cycling. I haven't been here long enough to know, but I think that's the way it's been for a while. Yeah.
And so, and then you can relate that back to home. I suppose you know the numbers are then.
Absolutely.
You've got a...
Absolutely, and if you compare that to the Indian racing scene, I was telling you earlier, if you're winning an A grade race, VRS race here, you're probably good enough material to win the national championships in India. So there's definitely a difference, a genuine difference in the level of the competition. And just in terms of numbers, it took me like 330 watts to win the national championships in the ITT at a 46 and a 46.7 average for a 40K TT. I mean, that's something that most masters races in Australia could put out, right? So yeah, there is that difference, and yeah, I realize that, but the whole point of getting out of India and, you know, moving to Europe, experiencing that, and coming to Australia, experiencing this, is really to get a feel for what the real level's like out there. And so it's been quite an eye-opener, and it's been great, yeah.
So are you famous in India? I mean, are you, as the first Indian national professional cyclist, are you walking around getting recognised everywhere?
I wouldn't call myself famous, but yeah, there more people know me than I know people, which is kind of weird at times, but yeah, I don't know. I'll just leave it at that.
All right, and last question, what is next for you? After cycling, what are you going to do? Obviously, you said to me earlier you're going to have an influence on the up-and-comers in India.
Yeah, what I'd love to do is really set up kind of a clear kind of pathway and really assist with Indian riders kind of moving outside, specifically experiencing continental racing. I strongly believe the future of Indian cycling passes through Belgium, and that's something I strongly believe. And so for me, I think the future kind of involves something around creating systems around that, making sure there's that pathway to get themselves there and experience racing. But yeah, maybe a gig in the bike industry. That's something I'm really looking forward to. The entire space is growing massively in India. And even if 0.1% of the Indian population takes to the sport like cycling, that's a huge number. So, you know, it's a little nervous, but at the same time, pretty exciting to be in this sport. Yeah.
All right, Naveen, thank you. I hope you enjoy your time in Australia, and thanks for coming in and having a chat.
Thanks for having me on, mate. It's been great.
So, Dan Wilkins, have I talked you into it, or you were contemplating this?
100% you talked me into it.
Really? I don't want to take credit for something that you were planning to do yourself.
100% you.
All right, so I've talked him into vlogging, right? And I'm trying to get him to do daily, but he's actually pretty clever with Premiere Pro. So can I give him a snippet
Yeah, sure.
of your first? So look at this. I don't even do this many layers. Press it. Go for it. When are you going to have the vlog up?
Tonight.
He's going to have the vlog up tonight. So by the time he would have already posted this. I'll put the link to Dan's new vlog below. Check it out. He's a character. You'll love this guy. He'll be bigger than me in like 3 weeks. So Wayne's just dropped into the office. Wayne is a famous, for those people not in Australia, he's a famous Australian rules football player. Won 3 best and fairest, one for two at North and one at Sydney. Yep. But he's going to do a live thing here at the office, and he's learning how to use Instagram, aren't you? Are you smashing it?
Yeah, of course, because I got the master, the man himself, Dan the Man Wilkins. It's all going down.
All right, you first class keepers, I'm out of here. Love you.
Mark. Nice to meet you, Mark.
Great to meet you too, bro. See you later. See you later.
See you, man. See you, mate. Take it easy, buddy.
Good luck with this.
Thank you. I regrettably don't learn French.
All right, legends, so I'm doing an FTP test. Stephen Lane has asked me to retest myself to see where I'm at. I don't want to do, it's Friday afternoon. Do I want to do an FTP test? Not really, but I'm doing it, and I'm doing it on Zwift. So when I did the test with Stephen a few weeks ago, my FTP was 233. So it'll be interesting to see if it's jumped up a little bit with the minute amount of training I've actually been doing. Next time I talk to you guys, it'll be at the end of this test. I will be destroyed, but it'll be interesting to see how I go. Alright, I'm 10 minutes into this FTP test. I've got 10 more minutes to go before I start the FTP test, but I'm watching Bradley Wiggins' A Year in Yellow.
We don't need to think about it. Just do it my way.
I'll tell you what, I was hurting badly right then, but you know, it's not long after, maybe 4 minutes after finishing, I feel good again. So it's pretty amazing how the body bounces back. Just goes to show in races and stuff, you can hit it pretty hard and you'll recover. Depends on how long the race is though. But I'm taking Hanny out to the movies tonight. No more vlogging for today. That is the end of the vlog for today. Thanks for watching again, guys, and I'll see you tomorrow, Saturday, for another vlog. I've just been sitting here. I've finished yesterday's vlog just then using Final Cut Pro. Blake just walked in the room. Everybody, Blake, he's just bought some cool beers, which we're going to check those out in a second.
Bolter, check it out.
Yeah, so who's
the best beers? Mick Fanning, Joel Parkinson, and I think B. Durbridge.
Yeah.
Pro surfers dropped a lot of cash into this, and they've actually nailed it. It is a delicious beer with good branding and a environmental consciousness.
I like Blake. I like him. He's only been here 5 minutes. I like him.